This is Uncovering Sports. Welcome to Uncovering Sports. I am Cactus Hamilton Barrett, and I am joined alongside the un-American, dirtiest player in the game, the low-down and despicable Brendan Coleman.
Thank you. Too kind.
I don't know if our audience can hear this, but there are rabid, furious fans outside of our studio right now banging on the glass, just trying to get in and get at this guy. Because if you didn't listen to the draft last week, then you don't know. Brendan revealed himself as the GM of the Montreal Quebecers XFL franchise.
They made me an offer I couldn't refuse.
You turned your back on everything we built.
That seems a bit dramatic. But you know what? I'm building a winner. I went quarterback first.
Yeah, but it was a bad quarterback pick. I think my pick was a better pick. And if you haven't listened to the XFL Draft yet, you definitely should, because it was a great time, live from the Uncovering Sports Center. The fans were great, and fans were insane. The whole thing is still available to listen to for all time. Just go to uncoveringsports.com or search for us on your favorite podcast app, Uncovering Sports Podcast. Speaking of that, we are a featured show this month on the Podcast Republic Android app. Did you know that?
I did know that.
It's pretty sweet. So if you enjoy Uncovering Sports and you have an Android phone, check out Podcast Republic. It's a fantastic app that allows you to get all your favorite podcasts directly to your Android device. You can search for podcasts, you can add favorites, and you have them all just a click away. You can download it from the Google Play Store, and you can immediately then search for Uncovering Sports and set it to be one of your favorite podcasts. So all the new episodes download directly to the app every week, as soon as they come out. And you don't miss anything.
I feel like everyone should do this.
Right? I already did it. It's great. But now, we're back in the studio this week, trying to just catch up on everything that we missed. A lot happened in sports.
A ton.
I saw in the news just today that Jimmy G and Richard Sherman signed some very interesting looking contracts.
I heard about this.
They have signed contracts specifically forbidding them from participating in activities such as professional wrestling.
The Gronk clause.
Yes, as it has come to be known. Why do you think they're locking their superstars down like that?
You know, I don't know. I've always been a fan of cross-promotion, so I feel like it's a no-brainer. Let them do it.
It's fun for one guy to show up on another show, right?
Absolutely. But, you know, wrestling doesn't typically work that way, so I guess they're taking a page out of that.
Yeah, I guess so. To be fair, NFL is very protective of their kayfabe. They will defend it at all costs, and maybe they think their guys showing up on a wrestling show raises too many questions that they don't have the answers to.
Yeah, I could see that. They should maybe work on their refs protecting kayfabe a little better.
Absolutely. The ref gaffe is probably a big reason for this contract being signed, because they already had a very big oopsie in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They're trying to play catch up now.
Yeah.
If you missed the Super Bowl, we'll play it again, but spoiler alert, if it's still real to you, this is going to hurt a little bit.
Tom got hit hard a couple times. The inside is starting to heat up now. So we're going to work another 8 or 9 minutes of physical right now as they go battling here.
That's Gene Steratore calling the next several minutes of the game to the players and the other refs in the Super Bowl.
Mic'd up. Yeah. And Raj heard it. He was not a fan.
No, Roger was livid. And I'm sure that Gene got an earful from Roger.
Oh, yeah.
Immediately afterwards.
During the game.
Oh, yeah. No, he didn't wait. So there's that. Then the other big news I feel like we saw this week in the NFL news cycle was, obviously there was a little thing called the NFL Draft. Sure. But we'll get to that in a moment. Day 2 of the NFL Draft, we woke up to hear that the Cowboys' Jason Witten had decided to retire after just previously weeks before saying he was playing until he was 40. Obviously, my little heart couldn't take it.
Yeah, I was wondering all weekend, how was he taking it? Not well.
No, not great. But, of course, I had to stop and I had to remind myself not to work myself into a shoot here, because this is probably going to work out okay. It's just part of the off-season news cycle. They need to get names in the news. You know, you can't let the Cowboys sleep for too long without something big happening.
It's kind of similar to what we saw of Jay Cutler last season, but I don't think Witten will be changing teams here.
No.
Don't worry.
I think that much is at least safe, but I don't expect him to enter the booth this season.
You don't want to lose back-to-back Cowboys to the booth.
But although then they would have basically a monopoly.
That's true. But this is Monday Night Football, right?
This would be ESPN. We'd have
big
ESPN,
show.
we'd have Fox, we'd have CBS. NBC would be the only Cowboyless station at that point. Move over, Colin.
It's worth.
Oh, yeah. Chris. Move over, Chris. Just thinking about your draft pick.
Sure. He will not move over, and he will not stand up.
He won't stand for anybody, which is most of the problem. And we've been teasing it for a few weeks, and we said we would come around to it when it was time, and I think it's time finally for our NBA playoff update.
All right.
I mean, we need some kind of sound effect there.
I think we nailed it first try.
Yep. So, we're finally out of the sympathy round of the NBA playoffs.
Sure.
Because over half of the teams in the league make the playoffs.
That's true.
Not all of them are entirely worthy enough to be there. But participation trophies have been handed out. We're actually to the real playoffs now. And we already know where it's going.
Sure. I've never thought about that before. They could really scale the playoffs back a bit.
It's ridiculous.
So many teams.
Like, there's like a sliding scale. Like baseball, very hard to make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Very few teams get in. They made it slightly easier with the wild card game, but it's still first you have to be eligible for the wild card game, win the one game, and still you're one of the only 4 teams that actually makes the playoffs in your league.
Right.
Football, you get the 4, and then you have 2 wild cards, so it's a step up. And then NBA basically just opens the floodgates. Yeah. I don't even understand why every team just doesn't make the playoffs. And the entire 82-game season is just for seeding.
June Madness.
Exactly.
Or May Madness, I guess.
Hey, there you go.
All right.
We're in May Madness now. Yep. The tournament has begun.
Yes.
There were no 16th seed upsets.
No. There was an upset around Portland, though.
Oh, yes. Portland was upset.
Surprise, surprise, the Blazers lost already.
And we here are just absolutely shocked, I say.
Shocked.
In disbelief. I did see a sign around town today that said, LeBron, Dame needs another option. They want LeBron in Portland.
Yeah. Well, probably doesn't want to come to Portland.
I'm
going to let you know right now.
Bit of a long shot.
Not on his radar at all.
Hashtag LeBron to PDX.
Try your hardest.
Good luck. But speaking of LeBron, I think we got to talk about that game. I think it was game 6 on this last Friday against the Pacers. Mm-hmm. LeBron coloring the hard way, taking an elbow or something to the side of the face. Spilling some blood.
Yeah, it looked bad, too.
You don't see a lot of color in today's NBA.
No.
They kind of stay away from that.
Yeah.
PG era, after all.
Yeah. This was not approved by Adam Silver. He was not happy.
No?
No.
LeBron went off script here?
Off script, yeah. It was not an accident, but it was not planned by the powers that be.
Oh, okay.
But LeBron can do whatever the hell he wants.
He knows he's going to get away with it.
Yeah.
He probably did it just so that he wasn't losing clean to the Pacers.
Exactly.
Well, hey, that's why he's the star he is. He protects his image very well.
Mm-hmm. It made for a nice story. Come back and win Game 7.
Yep, exactly. And they took it to Game 7 because this series was a ratings monster, so it had to go to Game 7. Although I wish that the first round would never go to Game 7.
Well, just a few years ago, it could only go to 5 games. They extended it even further.
Why? It's for reasons like this, if you're wondering. That was not a rhetorical question. I know the answer. But now we're here. We know the Warriors are going to win this series against the Pelicans.
Probably in 4 games.
Yeah, almost certainly in 4 games. But who are the Cavs going to play in the Eastern Conference Finals?
Whew, that's tough. My gut says the Celtics.
Yep, my gut says the Celtics also.
Yes. Boston, you can't pass up Boston.
Right. 76ers are getting the Super Bowl bump, I think. Phillies fans are very energized. They're very motivated to spend and cheer. Mostly spend. Importantly spend.
Yeah, sure.
But, come on, Boston.
It's Boston all the way.
You don't sleep on that market.
They trade Kyrie Irving to the Celtics. He's out, but they're still sticking
There's
with that.
there's still a reason that happened.
If there's one thing we know about the NBA, they adjust their plans less than the NFL does.
That is true. And their plans are very predictable at this point. I feel like we're stuck in some kind of a loop, man.
Yeah. It's like it's Groundhog's Day or something.
Groundhog time.
Weatherman Phil Connors. About to find out he's stuck in Groundhog Day.
It's the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's the Golden State Warriors. It's NBA.
I'm reliving the same day over and over. Do you ever have deja vu, Mrs. Lancaster?
Curry makes a three.
I don't think so, but I could check with the kitchen.
He fakes. Curry for three.
Well, it's Groundhog Day. Again?
At first, he was a little anxious.
The Golden State Warriors are the 2015 NBA champions. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
Bing. The NBA has to face reality.
Hey, Phil, what are the odds we get Warriors and Cavs in the finals?
I'd say the chance is 80%.
But now, he's discovering the possibilities.
It's like we've been here before. The Golden State Warriors, Cleveland Cavaliers in
But to get what his heart wants most,
What are you looking for, Phil? A date for the weekend?
Just gotta start looking for some more dominant players in places they never looked before.
means living this day over again.
The Warriors are NBA champions again.
What a waste of time.
Cleveland is a city of champions once again.
Bill Murray,
Groundhog Day. It's over. It's over.
Groundhog's Day. Coming this June. Again.
In all the news and excitement this week about the XFL Draft, everyone almost overlooked the fact that the NFL Draft actually did happen as well.
Yeah, it's kind of weird timing on our part there, but did you manage to catch any of it?
I watched some of it, yeah. I'm not as crazy as some of us in the office, but I watched the first couple rounds.
Yeah. I actually watched the whole thing because I was in hiding after the
Laying low.
laying low. Didn't have a lot to do, so
Probably not a bad idea. It clearly hasn't blown over yet. No. How did you get to the studio today? You had to put on a mustache?
to the skies, yeah.
It's a good call. So the NFL Draft, it did happen. It was a big week. If you missed it, we're going to get you all caught up right now. I'm going to throw some names out there. You watched the draft. You tell me what you thought of them.
All right.
You ready for this? All right, we're going to put you on the clock. Up
this timed?
first. This is timed.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, you've only got a limited amount of undisclosed time to get through this.
Ugh, I hope I make it.
And the clock is ticking.
We better start.
First pick in the draft, Baker Mayfield.
All right, you know what? A lot of people kind of shit on this pick.
I was one.
Sure, but let me try to pitch it from another angle here. They got the biggest name, I think, in the draft. There might have been people viewed as more talented, but what they got was the name value. Everyone knows who this guy is by now. They want to be on the map. The Browns, as we've mentioned every week, have struggled.
The Browns don't even own a map.
Now, obviously, yeah, they've tried this in the past with Johnny Manziel.
Sure.
Didn't pan out. But you got to keep swinging. That's how I feel.
Sure. All right. Second pick.
I used a lot of time right there.
You did. Time actually expired in the middle of that.
Damn it.
So round one is over. We're going to try again. And I will say, we're going to go into Baker Mayfield and Cleveland much more when our Browns fantasy continues next week. But for the meantime, we're focusing on the NFL draft and some hot takes here from the dirtiest player in the game himself and the GM of the Montreal Quebecers. Brendan Coleman, what did you think about Saquon Barkley?
I was very shocked that the Giants decided to stick with Eli Manning. But Vince did turn him down for the XFL, so...
He's got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold.
I think we've seen this before. The Sam Giants.
Nuff said.
There's a butt fumble in his future.
Oh, I've already seen this whole story play out.
He will be a good XFL player in a couple of
Down
years.
the road. Yeah, absolutely. He'll have a great XFL career. Denzel Ward.
This was a bit of a surprising one to me with some big names left, but what they did was...
This was the 4th overall pick.
4th overall. What they got, though, was a kid born and raised in Ohio, went to college in Ohio. He's homegrown talent that's going to attract more fans, I think, and the Browns need fans.
Is he their LeBron James?
He might be their LeBron James.
Well, he's not a quarterback.
Is LeBron the quarterback?
He's the quarterback equivalent.
Sure, yeah.
Bradley Chubb.
2 things. 1, awesome name.
Sure.
2, future Hall of Famer. I think we can all agree on that.
Oh, absolutely. I can't wait to see the bust of Chubb.
That's behind the curtain.
It is. It's in the 18 and older section. Josh Allen.
That's a Vince McMahon type player right there.
He's kicking himself that he didn't take him and sign him to the XFL already.
He may still have a chance, you don't know. But yeah, big, strong guy. Vince has googly eyes for him.
He sure does. All right, what about Shaquem Griffin?
Boy, he was the star of the draft. I don't know if you watched that late, but pretty much day 3 is dedicated to him.
It was Griffin Day.
Yes. He was on screen pretty much the entire time. And if he wasn't on, they were talking about him.
Oh, yeah.
I'm expecting a big push. I don't know if Seattle's going to get one or if he's just going to get a lot of playing time and exposure, but...
Well, Seattle's in kind of a weird spot right now where they're like half rebuild.
Right.
But need to still attract the attention of their fans.
Yeah.
So the spectacle of and the story of Griffin kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah, his personal story and his brother being on the team. There's a lot of factors that make it a good pick for them.
One more. Josh Rosen.
I thought you had forgotten about him.
Keep it in the pants.
Let me tell you something about Josh Rosen. That is a franchise quarterback. That is the guy you build a team around. Probably my biggest disappointment was the Broncos.
Wow. All right, then. Do you need a minute?
I'll be all right.
All right, I'm going to move on. I've created a second list. The clock will start over.
Oh, good. How many clocks have I gone through?
6.
Okay.
And that was just on Rosen. Those are the best players in the draft. These are the best names in the draft.
Okay.
Give me your hot takes on these guys.
Sure.
Rapid fire. Avante Maddox.
Great XFL player.
Kiki Kuti.
Sounds like a perfume.
Kiki Kuti.
Exactly.
Florenzo Fatukasi.
I am 99% sure you made that name up.
I'm 99% sure I didn't pronounce it right. Jaquan Bentley.
I would love a Bentley.
You got one. Ray McLeod.
Boop. Dead.
And Equinemius St. Brown.
Wow. That is a great name. How do the Packers always get the great names? Haha, Clinton Dix, the name you just said.
E. St. Brown. I think that the Packers the Packers rate their players higher based on name alone. It's got to be. That guy was higher on their draft board than other players because his name was Equinemius St. Brown.
He's a steal of the draft.
He is.
You don't get that kind of name value in the later rounds.
I can't wait for Joe Buck to scream his name after Aaron Rodgers throws him a touchdown.
Hopefully, it is not followed by a disgusting act.
You gotta hope. Joe's a sensitive guy, friend of the show. He was here last week for the draft. We were very happy to have Joe Buck here, but he's a tender fella.
A Tinder fella?
No, not quite. As we learned.
Yeah.
We'll just let that lie. Next week, we are going in to the Browns picks of Mayfield and their continued rebuild as our Browns fantasy continues. And we have a huge announcement, a huge world exclusive to announce next week. I've been speaking to the commissioner of baseball, and he wants to make an announcement, and he thinks this is the best place to do it. So we're going to have a world exclusive announcement about the state of the game of baseball next week on this show. So you do not want to miss it if you are a baseball fan or otherwise.
Just a sports fan.
Just a sports fan. I have a feeling this is going to be earth-shattering, game-changing, but I have no idea what it is.
Neither do I.
I can't even speculate.
Wait to find out.
Yeah. So tune in next week. In the meantime, of course, tweet us at Uncovering Sport. Follow us there too. Uncovering Sports on Facebook and Instagram. Keep your eyes peeled and your fingers F5 refreshing uncoveringsports.com for the latest information. And we'll see you here next week. Thanks for listening. Uncovering Sports.
Deuces.